Here is part 2 of My Favorite Neighbor John, in which we figure out that, you know what, it never is that easy for any of us starting out. Enjoy. Did you ever have a job where you had to deal with the public?
All the time. That's the job.
Well, I mean, retail, let's say. So,
retail?
Well, meaning, you're a server at a restaurant, or you're I scooped Italian ices in Central Park for a summer, and that public.
I'm very, my life is very narrow. I'll admit that.
All right. What are the banks?
Meaning that I if a trivia contest. If we were in a trivia contest, I'm like the last person. I will not win one. So to the point, we did go to a trivia we got pulled into a trivia contest, my wife and I.
You didn't choose this?
No, we were at a local restaurant, and it was trivia night, and we were sat down to dinner. We didn't know this. So I knew we were going to lose. So we had to put our name down, what name you wanted. And I said, Deb, we're going to say our name is, we thought this was speed dating. And as they read the scores every time, we were the last one. And it was like, and coming in last was, we thought this was speed dating. So
that is a brilliant punchline.
Getting
to anticipate.
Going to my narrow knowledge is that I don't know anything about, very little about movies, like Entertainment Tonight. If Entertainment Tonight is on TV, I get up and leave. I don't know those people. I don't know the history.
And you don't care.
I'm not interested. I'm interested in like science, math, engineering, things that I know. So I've
if trivia is on those topics.
Oh, I win. Yeah, I win. I win those. Math, anything math.
You're the specialist that the team needs. Okay, we need to have a science specialist.
Yes,
we need to have a Kardashian specialist.
But there's a whole area that I just know nothing about. And it happens all the time. People start saying, well, like the SNL folks, people at SNL, I don't know those people's names. I don't because I watch very little TV when it comes to, I know the basics, and I enjoy SNL and I enjoy comedy, but I don't have a broad knowledge of
the backstory, the history,
things that are TV shows, popular TV shows.
What do you actually know about speed dating?
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Just the line that I used for that.
It's a very solid punchline. Because you knew that it was going to be the last one.
Oh, I knew we were going to lose. I knew we were going to lose.
For every score announcement. That's great. Well, how do you deal with the public at the airport? I mean, how much interaction with travelers, everyday travelers, are you having?
I never had really a lot of contact. It was always it was always an institutional customer service type of initiative, whereby the customer always came first. So whenever any policies or any incidents occurred at the airport, we always would take care of those situations with the understanding. You always put yourself in that situation. If I was traveling, there's anxiety, what happens, and you always treat the customer absolutely the best way you possibly can.
But there's a little bit of a distance, right? You are tasked with solving the problem for that person that is not actually in your face.
Right, but
describing the problem.
We'd always go. My philosophy when I was at the airport, when I was a CEO, I'm the CEO now. When I was a CEO, I always made sure that we always took care of the customer, and we wouldn't tow cars unless it was an abandoned car right in front of the terminal and a security violation. We would always look after the customer the best way we possibly could.
Note to self, okay to park in front of terminal.
No, park anywhere. No, park anywhere except in front of the terminal. You won't get towed.
I don't know. I heard from a guy who knows that there's not a lot of towing going on. I asked you this one the first time, and I like it as a way to start thinking about the shape of a life, the arc of a life. What event most stands out for you during your 20s? Whether it's something that happened to you or something that happened in public discourse in government, what?
When I was in my 20s.
In your 20s. So
God.
roundabout starting college
You're
and
talking
then,
like
early
45
career.
years ago. You know?
I'm sorry to make it that hard.
Oh, I'd say
Question.
I would say that in your 20s.
So we're early 70s, basically,
I'm
right?
early 70s, yeah. So
No, meaning that's when you were in your 20s.
I
In the
thought you were
decade of
asking
the
my-
70s.
Yeah, it was the 70s.
Okay.
It was the 70s. Well, 70s was a different time.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was Nixon and
You had to really.
resigning.
I thought you had to you had to focus, and those are challenging times. I thought for young people.
There's the oil crisis.
You had to focus on your goals, and you had to stick with your goals. I think a lot of things were working again. Well, early 70s, you had the Vietnam War, so
Right.
so
Or the
we had the draft. We had the draft, and I was part of the draft. I drew a really high number, 319, but the guys that drew a lower number, their lives were being impacted, and it was real. It was just
And
so
their
real.
families. Yeah.
Yeah, and their families. So, and then there wasn't a lot of money around back then. People, the young people today have, they have cell phones. They have they have nice clothes. The cars are today you can get an older car. It's very reliable. It doesn't break down. Back then, nothing worked. Nothing, and you had to be hands on with everything. Your career, we had to work on our cars every year. You had to tune up your own car. You had to make sure it was running, and a lot of times it wouldn't run. There was a lot of things, no cell phones, no GPS, no maps. It was an interesting time. It was a challenging time, but we all got through it very well, I thought.
So you said that you had to fight for yourself, basically, that if you wanted a career to be built, that
Oh yeah, there was.
So what are the obstacles? What are you fighting against? What's in your way?
Well, once again, there was very little money around. There was very, very low paying jobs. Getting through, for example, in my instance, my wife and I got married. That's how I got through the engineering school. I got through the community college, but we decided to get married, and then she supported me while I was going through school. So you had to have these. Unless you had very wealthy parents, you had to have these. You had to work and think how you're going to fund it. It was a difficult time.
And I feel like the younger generation's impression of perhaps ours or slightly older generation who say, well, why don't you just do this and this and this, is, well, houses cost way more than they did back then. That there's a complaint that I sort of think is valid these days among young people, that they would say they have it harder than you had it in the 70s. And you're saying, no, it was plenty hard for us in the 70s.
It was difficult.
So Deb was working and paying rent and sort of supporting the household while you were in school?
Right.
And you didn't work at all?
No, I went to school.
And that was your job.
Yeah.
But I feel like the rules have gotten stricter, that you can't discharge student loan debt in bankruptcy, that they made changes that fundamentally favor the lenders, right? That student loan is a lucrative business for them.
Right.
They don't have to have lower rates, that a fair amount of burden has been shifted to students with the financial end of it, and the costs have gone up faster than inflation. And so, I feel like there's a lot of students these days that get that feel more burdened by their having to pay for their schooling. And if you go and get an engineering degree, well, then there's a job available for that. But if you get a history degree, maybe not as easy. And why even talk about an art history degree? Because I wouldn't choose to study that.
No, it was. I dragged it on pretty far. Once again, it's the challenge. It was the challenge of
paying for life,
not having enough funds. I had to work. Then I worked. I got a job, and went to school at night for a number of years.
And did that job pay for that tuition?
I think they paid half or part of it. They paid just part of it. It was something, yeah. And that's how you do it. You made things happen. It was kind of a mystery, but you just kept pushing forward, and you achieved your goals. But it was work, and it was beneficial too, because I was I would the courses I was taking was very fresh in my mind, and I could use that right in my current job because they were very closely related. It was engineering, and I was in a project management type job. So I used that information, that knowledge I was gaining evenings to apply during the day. So it worked out very well.
And that's before you started working for the state.
No, I worked for a
job.
private company for 3
Right.
years. Then I went to work with the state, a private construction company. It was good though. It was good.
It's interesting. So I would tend to agree with the students today who say, "Oh, it was much easier for you a long time ago." So I started in '83. I went to NYU, which was a private college, but I got a fair amount of support. So my family moved here from Detroit.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't show.
Who paid for your college?
I declared myself independent of my parents my sophomore year, and then it was me. And I got a fair amount of scholarship money, and I got some loans, but at the end of my undergraduate degree, I owed $6,500, which I paid off in less than 5 years because I knew that was burdensome, and I just wanted to have it off my stack of things to do. So I paid 3 or 4 times what the minimum was that they were gonna allow me to.
When I finished my education, I owed $52. I had to pay $52 a month, and I thought that was almost insurmountable.
Is that
Yeah,
right?
$52 a month. Yeah, because I don't know what I was making. Maybe I was making. I got to think real quick. I was probably making $250 or $300, and then you had some taxes.
A month or a week?
A month or a week. I'm not sure.
It's got to be a week.
A week. Okay. Well,
right. I mean, so
let's
that's
say
$1,000 a month.
I think my
But
first
you got
job.
rent
My first
and-
job, I think, I was making $11,000 a year, and that was like
So
in
just under $1,000 a month pre-tax.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you're right. You were making $200 a week.
Yeah.
Bring it home.
So so then the month was $52 a month.
Right. And that seemed
It seemed like almost
big
insurmountable. I'll never be able to pay this debt
that's
off.
extraordinary.
But all of a sudden, inflation and growth of your salary, and it rose up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a burden after a few years.
Thanks again, John, for your time and your graciousness. I have one more part to cob together from the rest of that interview. I found the audio to be very low as originally recorded and did some enhancements in CapCut. So I would be glad for comments about whether or not that worked and whether you can actually hear us at a reasonable volume setting. See you next time.